Hello?
The man that built the house, he died in the bathtub. There was 2 suicides and then another hanging.
Throughout history, certain houses have gained reputations for being haunted. The White House, for example, is famous not only as the home of United States presidents, but also for its ghostly visitors. Another chilling spot is a house built on an ancient pagan burial ground where guests have reportedly fled in terror. Today, we will explore some of the most haunted houses on Earth. Banff Springs Hotel. Some hotels come with little extras, free breakfast, a fancy spa, or a pillow menu. But there is one in Alberta, Canada, that offers something different.
This hotel opened in 1888 as the world's largest hotel at the time.
Over 125 years old, the Banff Springs Hotel was built by the Canadian Pacific Railway as a luxury rest stop for train travelers. These days, it's less famous for relaxation and more for its long list of eerie stories and encounters. One tale speaks of a bride who met a tragic end on her wedding day. She was descending the grand staircase when disaster struck. Her dress caught fire. Panicked, she lost her footing and fell, breaking her neck. Since then, many have seen her ghost gliding across the stairs or spinning in the ballroom with flames trailing behind her. Then there is room 873. You won't find it on the room list because the door has been bricked up. Why? To keep people out, or something in. According to locals, a family was murdered in that room, and their restless spirits haven't moved on. Guests and staff often report strange sightings just outside the room's location. Some claim to see figures in the hallway, while others say the air there feels heavy. But perhaps the hotel's most famous ghost is Sam Macaulay, a former bellman who worked there in the 1960s and 70s. By all accounts, Sam was a friendly and dedicated employee in life, and apparently in death too. Visitors often share stories of encountering an elderly man in a crisp bellman's uniform, offering assistance with a cheerful demeanor. One well-known account involves 2 women whose room key mysteriously stopped working. Frustrated, they called the front desk, but no one came to assist. Defeated, they started heading back when an older man appeared, matching Sam's description. Without a word, he unlocked their door and vanished. When they shared their thanks with the staff later, they were met with blank stares. No one working that night fit the description. Sam's ghost has also been spotted in unexpected places. Guests have reported seeing him in his old office, now converted into a guest room. Others swear they've caught glimpses of him on the 6th, 7th, and 9th floors, always dressed in his uniform, as if he is still on duty. It seems retirement wasn't on his agenda, even in the afterlife. From haunted staircases to ghosts still clocking in for work, the Banff Springs Hotel isn't your average vacation spot. But as eerie as this hotel may be, it is nothing compared to the next destination. This place has a past so disturbing, it will leave you second-guessing every shadow you see. The Old Vicarage. In the quiet village of Borgvattnet, northern Sweden, lies a house that has made a name for itself, but not for reasons you would expect. The Old Vicarage, built in 1876, may look like an ordinary building, but its walls seem to hold secrets that refuse to rest. The first recorded incident came in 1927, when chaplain Niels Hedlund lived there. He claimed strange things happened often, but one moment stood out. As he headed to the attic to collect his laundry, he froze. Clothes were being pulled from the line, but there was no one there. During the 1930s, another priest, Rudolf Tangden, called the vicarage home. One day, he spotted an elderly woman in grey standing silently in a room. Curious, he followed her, but before he could ask who she was, she disappeared right in front of him. By the 1940s, more strange events piled up. Otto Lindgren, who became the next priest to live there, reported hearing unexplainable noises and seeing objects move on their own. His wife confirmed these events, making it clear they weren't just tricks of the mind. One story from that time is hard to shake. A guest staying in the house woke up in the middle of the night, feeling uneasy. When she opened her eyes, she saw 3 elderly women sitting quietly, staring at her. Panicking, she turned on the light. The figures didn't vanish, but instead became blurry, as if fading into the air. In 1945, Chaplain Eric Lindgren moved in and decided to keep a journal of everything he experienced. His entries painted a disturbing picture. He wrote about being thrown from his chair by something invisible, not once, but repeatedly. Today, the vicarage isn't just a home, it is a destination. It now operates as a cafe and guest house, inviting brave souls to spend the night. Those who manage to stay until morning are rewarded with a certificate as proof. The old vicarage may seem quiet now, but it is hard to ignore the stories tied to its past. But this isn't the only place with a chilling history. Further away, there is a site with a reputation that has stood the test of time. Its tales are older, darker, and even more unsettling. Edinburgh Castle. Some places feel alive with history, and then there are places where history feels like it never left. Edinburgh Castle is one of those places. It sits high above the city and is said to be one of the most haunted spots in the country. For centuries, visitors and staff have shared strange encounters, each one more unsettling than the last. People have reported being touched or pulled by unseen hands, spotting shadowy figures in the halls, and feeling like someone is watching them. Sudden chills sweep through rooms. Green lights appear where they shouldn't, and some visitors are overwhelmed by emotions they can't explain. But the most common tales are about the ghosts said to roam the castle. One of the most famous is the Little Drummer Boy. His legend dates back to 1650, during Oliver Cromwell's siege of the castle. People claim to have seen a headless boy playing an old Scottish war tune along the battlements. According to the story, his appearance was a warning that the castle was under attack. No one knows who he was or why he chose the drum, but his ghost hasn't been seen in modern times. Maybe that is because the castle hasn't faced a real threat since the Jacobite uprising of 1745. His silence leaves people wondering if he is truly gone or just waiting. Another well-known tale is that of the Piper Boy. Long ago, a network of tunnels was discovered beneath the castle, stretching toward Holyrood Palace. Curious about where they led, people sent a young Piper Boy into the tunnels with his bagpipes. His task was simple: play as he walked so those above could track his progress. For a while, the sound of his pipes echoed clearly. Then, near Tron Kirk on the Royal Mile, the music stopped. Alarmed, search parties were sent into the tunnels, but the boy was never found. Shaken by the incident, the city council ordered the tunnels to be sealed. Even now, visitors claim to hear faint bagpipes playing beneath the Royal Mile. The sound rises, then fades, leaving people wondering if the boy's spirit is still lost in the dark. The Grey Lady is another haunting figure tied to the castle. Many believe she is the spirit of Lady Janet Douglas, a noblewoman with a tragic story. Accused of trying to poison King James V, Janet was sentenced to death in a trial driven more by politics and revenge than by justice. James had a deep hatred for Janet's family, the Douglases, stemming from his troubled relationship with his stepfather, Archibald Douglas. Janet was burned at the stake in 1537, leaving behind a legacy of pain and sorrow. Not long after, people began reporting sightings of a woman in grey wandering through the castle halls and crying softly. Edinburgh Castle's ghosts are as much a part of its history as its stones and battlements. Their stories hint at the lives and tragedies of those who came before us, leaving behind questions that may never be answered. But if you think this castle holds all the secrets, think again. Far from Scotland, another place carries its own haunted past. It is a building tied to war, loss, and spirits that seem to refuse to move on. Old Changi Hospital. Hospitals have always had an eerie feel to them. Maybe it is the endless hallways, or the silence that is often broken by strange sounds. But some places take that unease to a whole new level. Old Changi Hospital in Singapore is one of those places. Even without knowing its past, the empty hallways, peeling paint, and silence are enough to set anyone on edge. But dig a little deeper, and you will find that this building has a history darker than most. Built in 1935 by the British colonial government, Changi Hospital originally served as part of a military base. It included two buildings, blocks 24 and 37, within the Kitchener Barracks, which housed the Royal Engineers of the British Army. For a while, it was just another military hospital, treating injuries and illnesses. But everything changed in 1942, when the Japanese seized the grounds during World War II. What had been a place of healing turned into something much more sinister. The Japanese military police, known as the Kempei Tai, were infamous for their brutal interrogation methods, and rumors claim they used parts of the hospital as torture chambers. One story says there was a room with thick chains hanging from the walls and blood-stained floors. It is hard to confirm these accounts, but the tales have stuck, and the hospital's reputation has grown more chilling with time. After the war, Changi Hospital continued to operate as a medical facility, but its haunting past never really faded. In 1997, the hospital officially closed after merging with Toa Hospital to form Changi General Hospital. The once busy hallways became quiet, and the building fell into decay. That is when things got even stranger. Trespassers and vandals began to explore the abandoned site, but many of them left with stories they couldn't explain. Over time, rumors spread that the hospital was being used for satanic rituals. Some believed Satanists were performing dark practices in its deserted rooms. But what really put Old Changi Hospital on the map were the ghost sightings. People have reported seeing the apparitions of Japanese soldiers, their uniforms soaked in blood, wandering the halls. Others have spotted an older man walking through the corridors as if he is still on his rounds. One of the most chilling accounts involves a woman who has been seen drifting through the rooms. Some say she is searching for something or someone, but no one knows for sure. The spirits of children are also said to haunt the old children's ward, their faint laughter echoing in the silence. Loud bangs and unexplained screams are common, and some visitors have reported feeling an unseen presence nearby. The building, now crumbling and overtaken by nature, seems to hold onto its past with a grip that won't let go. Well, the past doesn't always stay buried, and neither do its secrets. Another place proves that all too well. Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Hospitals don't just hold memories of healing, they can also carry the weight of pain and loss. Waverly Hills Sanatorium is no exception. Built in 1910 as a modest two-story wooden building, it wasn't long before the structure was replaced. By 1926, the hospital we know today stood tall, ready to face the tuberculosis epidemic. But what was meant to be a place of hope became something much darker. During its years of operation, it is said that as many as 63,000 patients lost their lives there. The number alone is unsettling, but there are also claims of harsh treatments and experimental procedures. These tales, combined with so much death, have led many to call Waverly Hills one of the most haunted places in the United States. Over time, its reputation as a hotspot for the paranormal has only grown. As investigators and enthusiasts have explored its halls, they've uncovered chilling pieces of evidence. Popular shows like Ghost Adventures and Most Haunted have shone a spotlight on the Sanatorium, each capturing moments that are hard to explain. One notable event came from the team at Ghost Hunters. While using a thermal imaging camera, they spotted what appeared to be a figure walking down a hallway. The figure was small, about the size of a child. Later, they learned about Tim, the spirit of a young boy who had been seen in the building before. Reports from visitors vary, but they all share one thing: unsettling encounters. Some claim to have seen full-bodied apparitions, while others describe fleeting shadows that dart out of sight. The sound of footsteps echoing through empty corridors is a common experience, as are sudden drops in temperature and disembodied voices. There are even accounts of distant screams coming from rooms that haven't been used in decades. Waverly Hills isn't just a crumbling building from the past. It's alive in its own way. For those who step inside, it is impossible not to feel the weight of what happened there. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, it is hard to deny that the place has an atmosphere like no other. Now it's time for today's subscriber's pick. This house looks like something out of a ghost story. The walls are cracked and broken, with chunks missing, as if time has taken its toll. The windows are shattered, and the hollow openings make it feel like the house is watching you. The bottom half of the building looks warped, almost melted, giving it an unsettling, unnatural appearance. It is hard to tell if this place was abandoned long ago or if something bad happened here. It is the kind of house you'd expect to see in a horror movie. The dark, empty windows and crumbling walls make you wonder if someone or something still lingers inside. The decay gives it a haunting presence, and you can't help but feel like stepping too close might bring bad luck or worse. Looking at it, you have to ask yourself, what happened here? Was it a fire, neglect, or something stranger? Would you ever explore a house like this? Or is it the kind of place you would cross the street to avoid? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Now, if you thought this house was unsettling, just wait until you hear what else is out there. Aasus Fortress. Centuries-old walls often hold secrets, and Aasus Fortress is no exception. Built around 1300, this medieval castle in Oslo has seen war, death, and betrayal. Its long history of conflict and use as a prison has left a mark not just on the stone walls, but some say on the air around it. During the late 18th and 19th centuries, Aasus served as a prison. Many inmates lived out their last days within its cold, unforgiving walls.
Some of the historical houses, perhaps the garrison houses just outside the...
Then came World War II, when the fortress was occupied by German forces in 1940 without a single shot fired. The castle became a site of execution during the war, with both resistance fighters and later 8 Norwegian collaborators meeting their fate here. Among them was Vidkun Quisling, a man infamous for supporting Nazi rule over Norway. His execution was staged as a public declaration that Norway would not tolerate treason. With such a dark past, it is no surprise that Aasus has a reputation for being haunted. Visitors and workers have reported eerie experiences they can't explain. Many say they hear footsteps echoing through empty hallways or voices calling out. Strange, unidentifiable smells sometimes drift through the air. These occurrences are unsettling, but they pale in comparison to the fortress's more infamous ghosts. One of the most chilling legends is that of Malcanison, the demon dog. This beast is said to guard the castle gates. According to legend, anyone approached by Malcanison will meet a terrible death within 3 months. While some dismiss it as an old myth, the tales have persisted for generations. Another ghost often spoken about is Mantelgeisten, a faceless woman seen wandering the castle halls. She is said to wear a long robe and glides silently back toward her chamber. Those who have seen her describe an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something far beyond human comprehension accompanies her presence. And then there is the old gatekeeper. Some say his ghost haunts the drawbridge. Visitors have reported hearing screams and even feeling breath on their necks, as though someone is standing just behind them. The gatekeeper isn't alone in haunting this area. A drunken Swedish man once attempted to storm the castle on horseback, declaring he would take over Norway. Both he and his horse were shot at the gates, but only the horse is said to haunt the premises. The fortress's Virgin Tower is another hotbed for paranormal activity. As the tallest point of the castle, it looms over the grounds. Those who have gone near it claim the air feels heavier. Shadows move where no one stands, and the silence is often broken by unexplained noises. Aasus Fortress is more than just a historic site. Whether or not you believe in ghosts, the castle's atmosphere leaves an impression that is hard to shake. But this is not the only place where spirits are said to roam. There is another site with a history tied to a family and their home. The Waverly House. Sometimes a home's foundation is more than just bricks and mortar. It is a history of pain. The Waverly House in San Diego is one such place.
The house has been around since 1856, built by a merchant named Thomas Whaley.
It was built on land stained by tragedy. The story of how the house came to be began in 1852 with the execution of a man named James Robinson. Also known as Yankee Jim, he was convicted of grand larceny and sentenced to death by hanging. Now, the execution was poorly handled, with the noose set too high. Yankee Jim's feet brushed the ground, making his death slow and agonizing. Just 4 years later, Thomas Whaley purchased the very site where the hanging occurred and built a family home there. From the start, strange things happened in the house. Lillian Whaley, the youngest daughter, once said she often heard heavy boots stomping through the halls. She believed it was the spirit of Yankee Jim, still haunting the land where he had been executed. Today, the Whaley House is both a museum and a registered historic landmark.
The Whaley House is a museum now, and June Redding has been the director for almost 25 years.
Visitors and staff continue to report unusual activity. Many claim to see the ghosts of Thomas and Anna Whaley, the original owners of the house. Thomas is often spotted near the staircase landing, while Anna is said to appear downstairs or in the garden. It is not just sights that people report. Guests have described smelling cigar smoke when no one is smoking, and others catch the scent of perfume drifting through empty rooms. These experiences happen so often that the Whaley House is widely regarded as one of the most haunted homes in the United States. For those who visit, the eerie atmosphere is hard to ignore. Whether it is a shadow that shouldn't be there or the faint sound of footsteps in an empty hallway, the house seems alive in ways it shouldn't be. But haunted houses are not limited to private homes. Something far larger and more public holds a reputation for strange happenings. The White House. The White House isn't just a symbol of power. It is also a place with a long history. Since the 1800s, it has been home to every United States president, starting with John Adams. But beyond the meetings, state dinners, and politics, this iconic residence has earned a reputation for something far less official. It is said to be one of the most haunted houses in America. From presidents to visitors, many have reported experiences that cannot easily be explained. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister during World War II, once stayed in the Lincoln bedroom during a visit. After finishing his bath, he returned to the room and claimed to see Abraham Lincoln standing by the fireplace. Churchill later insisted he wouldn't sleep in that room again. Churchill wasn't alone in his experience. Several United States presidents, including Teddy Roosevelt, Herbert Hoover, and Dwight Eisenhower, also said they encountered Lincoln's ghost. First ladies like Jacqueline Kennedy and Lady Bird Johnson, as well as presidential children Susan Ford and Maureen Reagan, have all shared similar accounts. Maureen even mentioned seeing Lincoln near the same fireplace where Churchill spotted him. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands had her own strange experience while staying in the Rose Room. One night, she heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, she reportedly saw Abraham Lincoln standing in the hallway. The sight startled her, leaving her shaken for the rest of her stay. Andrew Jackson, the 7th United States President, is believed to haunt the Rose Room. Employees have often heard his deep laughter echoing through the space, while others have reported hearing him shout angrily. His presence seems tied to the energy of the room, creating a lasting impression on anyone who enters. Abigail Adams, wife of John Adams, also has her place in these tales. She has been seen floating through the East Room, arms stretched out as if carrying a laundry basket. This was where she used to hang clothes to dry during her time at the White House. Visitors and staff alike have described her figure gliding through the room, seemingly lost in an old routine. Other reported apparitions include past presidents like Thomas Jefferson and John Tyler, First Lady Dolly Madison, and even a British soldier. Anne Surratt, the daughter of a woman involved in the Lincoln assassination conspiracy, has also been said to appear near the White House grounds. Along with these sightings, sudden cold spots, footsteps, and strange knocks are common experiences. The White House's walls hold more than history. They may also hold the presence of those who once lived or worked there. These accounts have fascinated and unsettled people for years. But if you think the White House is the only place steeped in haunted tales, you are in for a surprise. There is a centuries-old home in Britain that might take the title for the most haunted residence in the world. Ancient Ram Inn. They say walls can talk, but the ones at the ancient Ram Inn scream. With its dark history and chilling tales, it has become known as one of the most haunted homes in the British Isles, possibly the world. Built in 1145, the inn has long been linked to disturbing events. Stories of child sacrifices, devil worship, and restless spirits have surrounded the property for centuries. The land itself seems to carry an eerie energy. The inn stands at the crossing of two ley lines, which many believe act as conduits for spiritual activity. Adding to the unease, the site is said to rest on an ancient pagan burial ground, estimated to date back over 5,000 years. When it operated as a bed and breakfast, guests often fled during the night. Reports of full-bodied apparitions, sudden touches or tugs, strange voices, and an overwhelming sense of dread were common. For many, the atmosphere of the inn felt too dark and oppressive to bear. John Humphreys, the previous owner, experienced the inn's supernatural energy firsthand. In 1968, during his very first night in the house, he claimed something grabbed his arm and violently dragged him out of bed and across the room. That encounter was only the beginning of a lifetime of strange events for John. Over the years, John uncovered disturbing evidence of the inn's past. Beneath a staircase, he discovered the skeletal remains of two children, along with broken daggers. These findings suggested rituals and sacrifices might have taken place on the property long ago. Despite these discoveries, John remained in the house, documenting its activity and sharing his experiences with those brave enough to visit. Visitors to the ancient Ram Inn have continued to report chilling encounters. Some describe being pushed or pulled by unseen forces, while others hear whispers or cries echoing through the ancient walls. Many have seen figures lurking in dark corners or walking across rooms, only to vanish when approached. The ancient Ram Inn stands as a place where history and the supernatural collide. It is a house that holds on to its secrets, leaving those who enter with more questions than answers. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.